What's going on, everyone? It's Mike, it's John, and this is not your preview, which, if any of you just noticed, I've just got rid of. It's actually your new show. John, you've had a haircut. You're looking 5 years older. How you feeling?
Wonderful. Bit of sun. Done the garden. You know, the sun is shining, the weather is sweet. But even better, a week on Monday.
Oh, exciting times, me and John living it up in Magaluf. Yeah, it's going to be a messy one. Right, let's just very quickly talk about some of the news then today. We just wanted to jump on, do a quick video. John peppers me with links. He literally peppers me with links. And usually I see some of these before he does. But he has sent me a couple today that I didn't see. And I have been reading through. We've mentioned this player before, John. I want to talk about Sunderland's Dan Neil. I think he's their captain. Highly thought of. He's been linked with West Ham, Everton, various different clubs. Do you think players like Dan Neil are the type of players that are going to push Everton forward? You might not know much about them, but, you know, if you watch Championship football, you would have seen this highly thought of, and he is a good midfielder.
Well, we spoke about him last time on the video, and I think Bayern Munich are in for him. You know, Bayern Munich really rate him.
That was the Liverpool player.
Who?
That was the Liverpool player, Ben Doak.
And I thought he was doing it after him as well. But hey-o.
Hey-o. You a fucking dickhead.
Hey-o. Anyway, listen, we spoke on here about, we need experience and we need youth. And he's done well, you know, in the Championship. I think they're the sort of players who we need to be looking at. Players like that who can come in. And we've spoken here about Everton being run as a business. And if he can come in and he can do well for us, a young player with a sell-on value. And this is the way a lot of clubs do their business. You know, they buy youth, they do well a lot of the time, and they sell them for a big profit. Now, if Everton have to sell these players for a big profit, if they start bringing youth in, then it means we've done something right and the players done something right for us. But also, it means Everton are getting better if the players who we bring in are getting noticed. So I have no problem with bringing youth in. And I threw another name at you before, and there's been no rumours about this whatsoever. But a certain Tyrese Campbell. Now, when his dad was alive, God bless him, God rest his soul, he will have told Tyrese what Everton Football Club was like. I think he's another one who could come in and do well in the Premier League. He scores goals. I think you've got the stats before. I think I told you something like 12 goals this season or something, and so many assists. It's players like that, in my opinion, that we should be looking at.
Yeah, so Tyrese Campbell scored 28 goals. No, he's played 28 matches, scored 10 goals and 1 assist. He's 25 years old, so he's not necessarily as young as you may think, but that he's still young enough to be, you know, to come into a Premier League. He's been at Stoke now a while. He's always been a threat. He's always been pacey. I'm trying to think if he was at someone like Man City's youth academy. But he's a player that, you know, if you're going to take a chance on a striker in the Championship, he's not a bad name. We've been linked with other strikers today, and obviously I think it's worth having a debate about. Troy Deeney come out with an absolute corker regarding Jamie Vardy, and that, by all accounts on Twitter, went down like a lead balloon.
Well, this just shows why Troy Deeney was a manager for 5 minutes. To me, he hasn't got a clue. He's talking out of his ass. And it sounds to me like he's got someone in his ear for a bit of a backhand and a bit of a brown envelope. If he can push Jamie Vardy to a Premier League club, he linked him with Everton. Now, I've been a big advocate for Jamie Vardy 2 years ago. I think he could have come in for 12 months and done a job. Jamie Vardy's always lived off his pace, his turner pace. He scored goals with that pace, gets him away from defenders. He could run the channels. He got in behind the opposition's back line. It's gone. We've watched Leicester this season. It's gone. So I'm sorry, Mr. Deeney. You haven't got a clue. If you're trying to push Everton to sign Jamie Vardy, then I'm sorry, mate, but that ship sailed, in my opinion. No. Would you have him?
Oh. Do you know I got ripped a new arsehole in the comments about Tarkowski? By the way, I stand by it, by the way. So you can dig me out as much as you want, but I do think he dives in too easy. But I do think he's been a great player for Everton. So you can dig me out as much as you want. It's opinions. I genuinely think if you got Jamie Vardy for 30 to 40 grand a week on a 1-year contract as your third choice striker, I don't think I have an issue with it. As an impact player for 10, 15 minutes, I think there is goals there. I think he scored 12 goals for Leicester this season. So he still knows where the onion bag is. But you are right. You are absolutely right. And I do completely agree. It's almost last resort for me. I do think there is some merit. And me and I sent you a text message about older players educating younger players. And me and you have had this discussion on this channel about, having experience to educate the younger players we're being linked with. What would a Jamie Vardy do for a player like Chimiti, who is also quick, can also play off the shoulder? Will he educate him? Will he teach him? Will he do a player coach type role? I'm not against that. That's the Jamie Vardy bit I'm not against. But if you're telling me it's another Ashley Young situation where he's going to end up starting 35 games, and you're going to rely as your biggest goal scorer, then no, mate, I don't want him. So if you're offering me a free transfer with a low wage comparable to some of the others, fine. But I actually think Jamie Vardy ends up in the US. I think he ends up getting a move to the US. He's come out and said he's not ready to retire. I absolutely get that he hasn't got that yard of pace anymore, and he's not rapid, and he's not 29, 30. He's not the player that was linked with Arsenal for 40 million quid 10 years ago. He's not the player that lifted the Premier League 10 years ago. I get all of that and agree with it. But as a third choice option behind a proper centre forward, I think we've got big problems in centre forward position and the wings and midfield. I think you can do a lot worse than signing the Jamie Vardy. But I do agree we should be looking for better.
I hope he goes to the US.
Yeah, that's fair. And that is fair. And that is, this is the same debate when me and you were talking about players like Callum Wilson, for example, who is younger.
I'd have Callum Wilson.
But he actually has a worse injury record than Jamie Vardy.
Oh, yeah, a fit Callum Wilson. Right, a fit Callum Wilson is going to provide more for the team. And also he could be brought in and help Chimiti along and players like that. He could. I just think a fully fit Callum Wilson, you get more out of him than a fully fit Jamie Vardy. So yeah, I hope he goes to the US, and I hope he takes his grass of a bird with him.
Yeah, I agree. And that is the other thing that I don't think would work. Like, there is the whole backstory to that. You just can't imagine her moving to Liverpool. You just can't. Like, it just won't work. So I think you could do a lot worse, but he's certainly not my first choice. Do you get what I mean? There is merit. There is 100% merit in bringing in experienced players. We've seen it with Tarkowski, who's maybe educated Branthwaite a little bit. We've seen it with other players. I'll give you some examples. Wayne Rooney, Kevin Campbell. Wayne Rooney also was fortunate enough to have Duncan Ferguson as well, by the way. So, there was players in and around him. I see merit. But you are right, John. You are right. We should be aiming for better. We should be aiming for higher, and we shouldn't be signing 39-year-olds moving forward. You know, Ashley Young's out of contract. No disrespect to Ashley Young.
I just don't think it's the road Everton go down now with the different manager in charge. You know, the director of football going, and we don't know if there's going to be a director of football or a technical director. You know, with the new owners coming in, going into the new ground. And we've said on here, the likes of Ashley Young, Michael Keane, who are getting on, Seamus Coleman, possibly gets left on in some sort of coaching capacity. But when it comes to the playing side of it, I don't think the model that Everton are trying to build now would include a Jamie Vardy. And listen, you mentioned there about part of the team that needs strengthening. We need goals. We need goals. And we're all in agreement with that. There won't be one person in the comment who says we don't. Because if there is, you don't know football. But our centre forwards have been starved of service. We've seen it this season on the odd occasion when we've played to Beto's strengths since David Moyes has come in. We've mixed it up. I said that on a video the other week against Liverpool, against Canate and Van Dijk. He had a lot of success with the ball in the air, but also we've seen it when we played Leicester with the balls through the channels running onto it. I want a centre forward who will guarantee you at least 15 goals a season. Does Chamiti and Beto give you that? Probably not. But I think there's more pressing areas in the squad and in the team that need sorting first, as in a ball carrier midfielder, a skillful midfielder who can make that, you know, that killer pass. And you can talk about Ndiaye. I was thinking about Ndiaye today. For me, Ndiaye, when he's on the ball, is so skillful. But over the season, how many passes did Ndiaye give you? That killer pass that will lead to Everton scoring. We know we're short on the wings. That needs addressing more than anything, in my opinion. Before a right back, before a left back, before a centre half, before a striker, we need pace on the wings. We need creativity, but also we need goals from the wings. We need goals from the midfield.
I completely agree. And that was the smile on my face because I've thought about so many teams that have come to Everton this season and they all can pass the ball. They all can play in channels. They all can beat a man. You know, even players like, it sounds really silly, but like Arsenal this weekend, people that you don't expect to be able to just beat people willy-nilly, like Timber, for example. I'm not saying he's a bad player, because he's a good player, but you could see him just glide past players. And Die naturally stands out at Everton because there isn't another player that can do it. There is literally not another player that can pick up the ball and just run past people. You have seen it occasionally from Ghana, who doesn't have the pace at the end of it. You've seen it a little bit from players like even Tim. Tim will try and turn with the ball and carry it, but they're not great at it, or they lack that pace, whereas Ndiaye doesn't. McNeil can do it, but he's not been fit. But then you've also got players that it is their job to do it. Lindstrom, Jack Harrison, who can't do it. And Everton need ball players in this team. We need people that can control and pivot and dictate and change the way that we play. And I think that what the point you have just made there is probably the best point I've heard you say in 6 years, because I've heard some shit from you in my time, but that was not one of them. That was a good footballing bit there, John. Well done.
Well, I can follow on from that. You know, when you watch this Everton team, right? It's the same way.
And that's the end of the video, everyone. That's John gone, because no doubt he's about to absolutely murder this. So look, John's finished, right? He's off the channel.
But as I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted. You know, when you watch this Everton team, you know what each individual player will give you every week. You know as a team what you're going to get every week. You watch some of the successful teams. They've got players who have more in the locker, and they can change it week in, week out. The way they play, depending on the opposition. This Everton team, listen, we're safe. You know what I mean? And I think this Everton team, since David Moyes has come in, has done really well. You know, we've got over the line practically. We're not mathematically, but we are safe. But you know what you get with this Everton team. When you look at an Arsenal, not so much a Man City this season, but they can mix it up with the opposition they're playing. They can bring players in if they have to change it. We're picking near enough the same team week in, week out, watching the same football, watching the same tactics. And listen, David Moyes has got these tactics working. He's got this team working. That's why we're practically safe. This is the next level now, where we need to bring players in and mix it up depending on who we're playing. And then it gives you more of a chance week in, week out.
Yeah, and it's it's a bit monotonous, isn't it, really? Like, and it's not Moyes, it's the position he's been in. The one thing I will say, and look, I've said it very honestly for years, I absolutely love David Moyes. And as an Everton fan, as I've mentioned before, you've seen success. Other people on this channel, watch this channel, have seen success. But I haven't. The best years at Everton have always been under David Moyes. The bit that I haven't enjoyed lately is the long ball football, because I think, I just don't think it suits our strengths. Albeit, to be fair to Beto, I actually think he's done better lately with the balls up to his head and his chest. But when we don't have these ball players, it's either we can break and look really good. We had 3 chances against Brentford. We should have scored 2 goals against Liverpool. There was a chance against Arsenal, chance against Wolves. There's lots of times where we've managed to break and go forward, but you don't really see us cutting teams open as much as you like.
Do you know, we've said on here a few times, David Moyes has come in and he's ripped the script up. He's ripped the leaving script that Sean Dyche said that he couldn't get any more out this team. He's ripped that up. He has got more out of this team to a certain extent, possibly an extra 10-15%. Now he's hit his limit. He's hit his limit now with this squad of players that he's got. That's not David Moyes' fault, and it's no individual's fault who's playing week in, week out. David Moyes has got every last ounce out of this squad now. He can't get any more. That's why we need additions. We need to change the style of play. We need youth mixed with experience. We've said this, and that's why you're seeing now practically the monotonous football that we're watching every week, because there's no more to come out this squad of players. He's done his best. He's done what he was brought in to do. Now we need to go to the next level.
Yeah. And we need to do it quickly, because we need to hit next season. We need to start ball rolling, really, don't we? You know, we are up, we are safe. So we need to start moving forward. And we've said this a few times on the channel. We've also been linked with an Everton, with Everton, according to Goodison News, which comes from various sources, but Everton have been linked with David Hanko, I think is the right way of pronouncing it. Feyenoord defender. He's been linked with Chelsea as well, but apparently Everton really like him and are prepared to beat Chelsea to his signing. Now, obviously, we lose Mason Holgate and we lose Michael Keane. David Moyes, to be fair to him, when he was recruiting centre-halves, he got them right. The only one that he got wrong was Per Caldrup, but he got Jagielka right. He got Lescott right. He got Sylvain Distin right. John Stones. He got John Stones right. He always seemed to get defenders right It was strikers that he almost used to kill because we signed good strikers and he just murdered them. But I wanted to ask this because I've been on Forest Fan TV today. You'll see the video later. And one of the players that was brought up was O'Brien, about how good he's been at right back. We've got Branthwaite, who I don't think is going to be sold this summer. And we've got Tarkowski. Now, if we transition like Moyes used to like to play with wing backs, i.e. Baines and Coleman would dart up and down the left and right wing, what do you do with that centre-half position?
Well, I think it's squad size, isn't it? You know, Tarkowski, we spoke about him quite regularly recently. He's not getting any younger. Michael Keane's going to go. Mason Holgate's going to go. So that leaves you with Jarrett Branthwaite and Tarkowski. If Jake O'Brien's going to carry on at right back. Now, David Moyes always gets the defensive side of things, or not always, but the majority of the time, spot on. It's about squad size for me. It's about squad size for me. I'd love to see Jake O'Brien and Jarrett Branthwaite at centre-half in years to come. Does Jarrett Branthwaite stay that long? I'm not so sure as what you are that Branthwaite plays at Bramley-Moore for an Everton, in Everton blue. I'm not so sure. Maybe that's why David Moyes is looking at defenders, because he possibly doesn't know what's going to go on. It's going to take a big offer to get Jarrett Branthwaite. If that big offer comes in, I think Everton sell. I do think Everton sell. But the recruitment's got to be inadvertently good to plug that hole, because you can't plug that hole with a Michael Keane. You can't plug that hole with a Mason Holgate. So he's got to look, and as you quite rightly say, he's always had a good eye for a defender. I think David Moyes will be looking to strengthen all over the pitch, not just defensively, but maybe that's where he's starting and then build from there.
Last question. I'm not going to ask any more questions because, you know, you've got £70 million. What three positions? And I mean actual positions. So you can't just say midfield. You've got to say centre mid or right wing or whatever. But what three positions do you go and spend?
Right wing, left wing, and a ball carrier midfield. A midfielder who can make things happen. I know Ndai can, but we spoke about him before. But a ball carrier midfielder who's basically got everything.
Is that Alcaraz? So you sign Alcaraz out of that money?
I don't think Alcaraz has got everything. I don't think he's got everything. And I don't think, when you look at Alcaraz, right, I like Alcaraz, but is he the midfielder that we need to unlock defences? Does he make that killer pass 20 times a season? Does he create chances on a regular basis for our centre forwards? The answer to my own question, in my opinion, is no, he doesn't. He doesn't. And you probably don't get that from Ndai regularly. So we need a skillful midfielder who can unlock the opposition's defence. Not week in, week out, that's a bit to ask, but on a regular basis. But we need creativity down the wings. We need wingers to get in behind the opposition's defence. We need wingers to put good balls into the box. And you probably get more out of Chimiti and Beto if that's the case. If we go into next season with Chimiti and Beto, and I know I've always said on here, we need goals, we need goals, we need a striker, we need a striker. When I've seen the middle of the park this season, well, how many chances are being created from there? And how many goals have come from the middle of the park? And how many goals have come from our wingers? And how many chances our wingers have created? For me, it's them three positions more than anything.
Yeah, I actually don't disagree at all either. So you're doing well today, mate. I must say you're actually talking some sense. There'll be a lot of people in the comments that will disagree with you about Alcaraz there, and I'm not one of them. And I actually called it about 6 games ago. I like Alcaraz.
Oh yeah, mate. If we could get Alcaraz and you push it up to 80 million to spend, and Alcaraz is one of them, plus the positions that I've just mentioned, I wouldn't have a problem signing Alcaraz. I just think for what we need as a club, with chances getting creative from the middle of the park and chances getting creative from the wide areas, and wingers who can chip in with a goal. We've spoke about here with the stats for Harrison and Lindstrom this season. They're absolutely shocking. That's not enough. It's not enough, full stop. There's not enough goals in the midfield, full stop. So if it means we have to go out and spend 70 million quid on a midfield that I've spoke about and wingers that I've spoke about, and Alcaraz isn't part of that, then so be it. So be it, in my opinion. I just don't think you're going to get it consistently from Alcaraz where he'll make that pass, where he'll create chances on a regular basis, where he'll chip in with goals on a regular basis. I think there's midfielders out there. I don't know who they are, but I think there's midfielders out there. If you're including that in the 70 million with the wingers, then maybe Alcaraz isn't part of it. I can't sit here and slag him off because since he's come in on loan, I think he's been a really good player for us. Do I want to see more? Absolutely. Absolutely. From now till the end of the season, if he can create them chances and he can start chipping in with goals, maybe he's part of it. But from what I've seen, and I'll get shot down for this, there's not enough creativity from him. And I think that's what we're shouting out for.
Well, John, I mean, the channel's just been cancelled, but I will stand with you there, my friend, and I'll be cancelled with you because I completely agree. I think there is a player there, but I think he might be a touch lightweight, and I sometimes see that he won't go into a tackle, and that's a concern for me when you play in that sort of position because you want to win the ball high up the pitch and get at them. So yeah, look, I agree. I think he's been great, but it's that debate whether there is better for £15 million. But then you've got to remember we signed in Guy for 14 million.
Yeah, listen, £15 million in this day and age in the Premier League for a player who's done what Alcaraz has done. Is he a £15 million player? Absolutely, in my opinion, he is. He is. But if we're going to have to sacrifice not bringing someone in, hoping we can rely on him to start chipping in with more goals and to create more, I just don't think you get enough of that from him.
Yeah, I completely agree. Right, guys, look, we are going to leave it there. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and we will see you on Thursday for the match preview. There's a video coming out tomorrow. Got hiccups. Tomorrow with Forest Fan TV, talking about basically both sides and how Forest have gone from being where Everton are to being Champions League contenders. So make sure you go out and watch that. I've also done a video on Forest Fan TV as well. So make sure you go and follow them, hit the subscribe button, all of that good stuff. And yeah, guys, we'll leave it there. John, anything to say?
Nothing, mate. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget, hit the like and subscribe. As he said, I will be at Forest on Saturday if I forget to tell everyone on Thursday. So if you are there, come over, have a chat, have a pint. It'll be good to see you.
Yeah, spot on. Guys, keep smiling. Up the toffees. Peace.